If you're awake after midnight, you shouldn't be listening. This is Mr. Midnight, and these are stories best left in the dark. Tonight's episode contains 3 documented cases, each one verified, each one unsettling, and each one leaves behind questions that were never fully answered. These aren't urban legends. They aren't creepypasta. They're real events that still don't sit right, even after the investigations ended. These are midnight relics. In 1959, 9 experienced hikers fled their tent in the middle of the night, barefoot into sub-zero temperatures, and never came back alive. What they were running from has never been explained. This is the Dyatlov Pass incident, a true story best left in the dark. In January of 1959, 9 young hikers set out into the Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union. They weren't amateurs. They were experienced, certified hikers, engineers, students, outdoorsmen, led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov. Their goal was simple, a winter expedition to reach Mount Otorten. They packed correctly. They logged their route. They were expected back by February 12th, but February 12th came and went. No one returned. At first, officials assumed delays, but days passed, then weeks. A search party was finally sent into the mountains. What they found would haunt investigators for decades. On February 26th, rescuers discovered the group's tent. It was still standing. Their food was inside. Their boots were inside. Their coats were inside, but the tent had been cut open from the inside. Not unzipped, not damaged by weather, slashed. One of the most chilling details came from the hikers themselves. Their cameras were recovered. The final photos show blurred lights in the distance, strange glowing orbs against the night sky. Some claim it's a technical flaw. Others believe it captured the last thing they saw before leaving the tent. The final frame is out of focus, as if the photographer was running. Footprints led away from the tent, some barefoot, some in socks, heading downhill into the frozen wilderness. Temperatures that night were estimated at minus 22 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 30 degrees Celsius. No trained hiker would leave shelter without protection, unless they believed staying was worse. The first 2 bodies were found beneath a tree near the forest's edge. They were barefoot, lightly dressed. Several bodies weren't just underdressed. They were wearing clothing that didn't belong to them. One hiker wore pieces from another victim, suggesting survivors tried to stay alive by scavenging warmth from the dead. But this also means some died first, and others lived long enough to make choices. Their hands were burned, as if they'd tried to warm themselves over a fire. Further into the woods, 3 more bodies were discovered, frozen mid-stride, as if they had tried and failed to return to the tent. But the remaining 4 weren't found until months later, buried under snow in a ravine, and their injuries were different. One had a crushed skull. Another had shattered ribs, damage compared to a car crash. Yet there were no external wounds. One woman was missing her tongue. Another had traces of radiation on her clothing. Not background radiation. Not explainable contamination. One of the victims had previously worked at a nuclear facility. Officials claimed this explained everything. But the question remains, why were only certain clothes radioactive? And why was this detail quietly buried in reports? Soviet authorities closed the case quickly. The official cause of death? A compelling natural force. No avalanche damage was found. No signs of another group. No struggle. The area was sealed off for years. Witnesses later reported strange orange lights in the sky that night. Was it military tests? Secret weapons? Something else? The files were classified. And when they were finally released, they raised more questions than answers. One modern theory involves infrasound, low-frequency wind vibrations created by mountain shapes. These sounds can cause panic, dread, hallucinations, and an overwhelming urge to escape. No noise, no visible threat, just pure terror. If true, it means the hikers weren't chased. They were overwhelmed. Some believe it was an avalanche, but the tent remains standing. The theory of katabatic winds were discussed. They are sudden, violent gusts of freezing air that rush down mountain slopes without warning. They can reach hurricane speeds in seconds. If one hit the tent, the hikers may have believed an avalanche was imminent. Cutting the tent open would have been faster than unzipping. But here's the problem. Katabatic winds don't explain the crushed bones or why they never returned. There are theories of military experiments, yet no official records exist. In 1959, the Soviet military was actively testing parachute mines and experimental weapons in the region. These weapons explode mid-air, creating massive pressure waves without leaving craters. This could explain internal injuries without external wounds, strange orange lights reported in the sky, the sudden panic. The case files were sealed shortly after. Coincidence or containment? And then there are the darker ideas. That something unknown, something not understood, drove 9 rational people to flee into certain death. One recovered photo shows a dark, humanoid shape in the distance. Authorities dismissed it, but speculation exploded. A creature? A shadow? Or something watching from the tree line? No official explanation was ever given. Was it a Yeti? To this day, the mountain is known by its local name, Kolatsayakl, Mountain of the Dead. Whatever happened on Dyatlov Pass forced 9 people into the freezing dark, without shoes, without answers, and without escape. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to be remembered. This is Mr. Midnight, and you have just uncovered a midnight relic. If you liked this video, or if you like extra butter on your popcorn, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow for more. Thanks for listening, my little chickens. Before we continue, if you're listening on YouTube or following along elsewhere, consider liking, subscribing, or following. And leave a comment. Which explanation do you believe fits best? Avalanche? Military testing? Something else? Your theories matter here. Before she disappeared, before anyone knew a crime was about to happen, a 14-year-old girl pressed record. What she captured would become one of the most haunting pieces of evidence in modern true crime. This is the story of Abby Williams and Libby German, and the case that recorded its own killer. This is Mr. Midnight, and if you're awake after midnight, you shouldn't be listening. On February 13th, 2017, Abigail Williams and Liberty German were dropped off near the Monon High Bridge Trail in Delphi, Indiana. It was a warm day for February. School was out. The trail was popular with locals. The girls planned to walk, take photos, and be picked up later that afternoon. At around 2:07 p.m., Libby posted a photo of Abby walking on the bridge to Snapchat. It would be the last photo ever posted by either girl. When the girls didn't return to the pickup spot, their families grew worried. Searches began that evening. By the next morning, February 14th, their bodies were found in a wooded area near Deer Creek, less than a mile from where they were dropped off. As investigators searched Libby's phone, they discovered something no one expected. Libby had secretly activated the video recording feature on her phone. The video showed a man walking toward the girls on the bridge. He was wearing a blue jacket, jeans, and a hat. The clip was only a few seconds long, but the audio was worse. A calm male voice says, "Guys, down the hill." Those 4 words would be replayed across the country for years. Police released the image, then the audio. The man became known simply as Bridge Guy. Despite thousands of tips, the case stalled. For more than 5 years, the Delphi murders remained unsolved. Investigators released multiple sketches, one showing an older man, another showing a younger one. The mixed messaging confused the public, The families waited. The town of Delphi lived under a shadow. Online theories exploded. Some accused locals. Others believed the killer was hiding in plain sight. Police insisted they were close, but made no arrest. Until 2022. In October 2022, police arrested Richard Allen, a 50-year-old CVS pharmacy technician. He lived less than 2 miles from the trail. Court documents later revealed that Allen had admitted to being on the bridge that day, wearing clothes similar to Bridge Guy. Investigators claim a bullet found at the crime scene was linked to Allen's firearm. Allen pleaded not guilty. He was charged with 2 counts of murder. Despite the arrest, questions remain. Why did it take 5 years? Why were there conflicting suspect sketches? Why did investigators say they had interviewed Allen early on, but didn't arrest him? As of now, the trial continues to unfold. For the families of Abby and Libby, justice is still in progress. But because of Libby's bravery, because she pressed record, the world will never forget. Before we continue, if you're listening on YouTube or following along elsewhere, consider liking, subscribing, or following. And leave a comment. In 2014, a family bought their dream home in a quiet, upscale New Jersey neighborhood. Tree-lined streets, the kind of place where nothing bad is supposed to happen. But before they ever spent a single night inside the house, a letter arrived in their mailbox. It was addressed simply to the new owner, and it ended with a signature that would become infamous, The Watcher. What followed is one of the most disturbing, documented stalking cases in modern American history, and despite police investigations, DNA testing, and years of scrutiny, The Watcher was never caught. I'm Mr. Midnight, and you're awake after midnight ... You shouldn't be listening. The home was 657 Boulevard, located in Westfield, New Jersey, a wealthy suburban town about 30 minutes outside New York City. In June 2014, Derek and Maria Broadis purchased the 6-bedroom house for $1.35 million. The home was built in 1905 and had passed through several families over generations. Nothing about it seemed unusual until the letters began. Just days after closing on the house, before the family had moved in, Derek Broadis found an envelope in the mailbox. Inside was a typed letter. It read, in part, "Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood." The tone quickly changed. "I have been watching your house for decades now. My father watched the house in the 1920s, and my grandfather watched it in the 1960s. The letter asked, "Have they found what is in the walls yet?" Then came the line that terrified the Broadis family. "I will know the names of the young blood you bring to me." At the time, the couple had 3 young children. Derek immediately contacted the Westfield Police Department. Officers advised the family not to move in until more was known. The letter was collected as evidence. Police noted that the envelope had no return address. It was postmarked from a nearby distribution center. The writer clearly knew intimate details about the house, including planned renovations, information that was not public. Despite police involvement, the letters continued. One letter mentioned the children directly. "I see them. I see them every day." Another referenced construction delays and the placement of rooms inside the home, details only someone watching closely would know. One letter asked, "Are you afraid yet?" The family became so frightened that they refused to bring their children anywhere near the property. They installed cameras. They checked the house repeatedly for hidden devices. Nothing was ever found. Police sent the letters for DNA testing. Only one partial female DNA profile was recovered, likely from someone who handled the envelope at some point. It was inconclusive. Handwriting analysis also failed to identify a suspect. Police interviewed neighbors extensively, including a man known to sit in his car nearby, former owners of the house, nearby residents with odd behavior patterns. No one could be definitively linked to the letters. At one point, police focused on a nearby resident described as socially awkward and intensely interested in the house. But his DNA did not match. The Broaddus family also learned that previous owners had received a letter, though far less threatening, and had dismissed it as a prank. That revelation suggested the watcher had been active for years. Still, no suspect could be charged. Unable to live in the home, the Broaddus family sued the previous owners for failing to disclose the earlier letter. The lawsuit made the case public. Media attention exploded. Ironically, the attention caused more letters to arrive, though none were conclusively proven to be from the original watcher. The family never moved in. After years of fear, the Broaddus family sold the house at a financial loss. To this day, no suspect has been arrested. No motive has been confirmed. No explanation has been accepted. The Westfield Police Department officially classified the case as unsolved, and 657 Boulevard still stands, occupied, quiet, or being watched. Some believe the watcher was a neighbor. Others believe it was an elaborate psychological attack. And some believe the house itself was the obsession. But one fact remains undeniable. Someone knew that house intimately, and they were close enough to keep watching. This is Mr. Midnight, and you have just discovered a midnight relic. If this kept you listening, subscribe for more true stories like this. And leave a comment. Tell me which one stayed with you the longest. I'm Mr. Midnight, and if you're still awake, I'll see you after midnight.